I'm at 3435 Sherel Circle in Cincinnati, Ohio, doing a sanitary lateral inspection for the purchase of a home. We are looking for basically any structural issues, root intrusion, anything that would be concerning to the buyer. Our access location is the stack here, the main stack. All the restrooms are basically stacked in this area. You have a bathroom right on the other side of this wall to the right, and then we have a bathroom on the first floor and on the second floor, basically directly above this. So they all come down into this one stack. There are some floor drains that will come into it. The laundry comes into the back stack there. There's the laundry tub that would take the discharge from the washer. And so, I'm hoping this goes nice and smooth. I expect to find cast iron until it exits the house, and then most likely switch to clay when it exits. Now, cast iron is not a bad material, but it does have a lifespan, shorter lifespan, or a definitive lifespan, basically of about 75 years. And you can see it does rust, and so we're mainly looking for like whether or not it's kind of how it's holding shape, and you can see it's pretty wide open, but we're looking for any obvious holes, stuff like that. This looks actually very good. It is a little strange. It almost looks like clay on the top. It's very, very good shape. The way it's held, the way that it's held shape, there's not a whole lot of buildup. A lot of times you see like a big channel in the center where the water is kind of washed away, but this looks really good. Now, one thing I want to note too about cast iron is that it does have a tendency to get more like soft clogs, which is kind of like when you clog a toilet or something. You have too much toilet paper, or wet wipes are a big issue. I always tell people not to use them, and it's with any line, but especially with cast iron, because with these rough edges and stuff with the rust, you can have wet wipe catch, and if it does catch or something, or kind of build up, then it doesn't disintegrate. Toilet paper is designed to disintegrate underwater, so it breaks down very easily, and even if it does kind of sit in a spot too long, the water should break it down, and it'll just turn into water, basically turn into little tiny pieces and flow on down the line. This doesn't look like a very bad line or anything, but I always like to note those things, and at least let the buyer know that it is more susceptible because it is cast iron. This looks like a tie-in from probably a kitchen line. Now, I'm unable to turn the camera to go up. They don't make a camera that articulates well enough to like turn it up a pipe there. And so what I may try to do is turn on the kitchen on the way back, and that way we can at least check the flow coming through that line. But there's no access for me to get through that spot. So far, the line is looking pretty good. It really is, the cast iron is in really good shape for its age. It's really holding shape well. Could have been descaled at some point, because they do make they do offer, like basically it's a big auger or whatever, or chain on the end that kind of scrapes off the rust, but I don't see any indication that that's really happened. But sometimes they'll do that to get the shape back on the line. And then here we are as we exit, and so what this probably is, you see that opening in the top of the pipe right there. There's seemingly it would be either a floor drain, or could possibly be a floor clean out, which would be good. But we can check that. If I need to, I can check that on the way back. I can locate the camera to find out exactly what that is. So now we're transitioning into the clay line, like I mentioned. This is a normal pipe material for the age also. This is something that you always got to kind of worry about with these floor drains because the storm and everything is tied into it. There's a little bit of toilet paper, so we're going to run some water on the way back and we'll take a look at that. But stuff can get in from like the floor drains in the garage and stuff like that. You can get some debris that gets in the line. And so without the water flowing regularly, without there being anybody that lives here, you have to sit in those spots until either it rains again or you do some laundry or take a shower. See all this stuff now. Kind of take a little bit better look on the way back because it does seem like there's an awful lot of mud and stuff originating right around there and just kind of building up down here. I didn't see anywhere where this stuff would be getting in. So we'll try to take a better look on the way back. Here we are at the sewer main at 83 feet. So we were able to make it all the way to the main, and really the only thing I saw was just some debris there in the line. And so we'll take a better look at things. I'm going to try to run some water, see if we can flush this out a little bit, and kind of take a look at that buildup of the what looks like mud and stuff like that in the bottom of the pipe. Most likely it's from the floor drains and stuff collecting debris over the years, but we'll see if we can, we'll obviously take a better, another look at the line as we pull back and see if we can find any reason for that other than the floor drains. So I'm going to pause the video for a second and I'm going to go run some water. Okay, I've got some water running in the kitchen sink. I'm going to flush the toilet. See the water come up from behind the camera there and dump into the sewer main. And so we're going to watch this as we pull back and hopefully kind of get a better idea of what's going on there and see if there's any other reason for that stuff to be in there. So this offset here, it doesn't look beautiful, but it's not obstructing flow at all. And it's probably when they made the turn with these old clay lines, they would kind of fit them together and make their own turns instead of using fittings a lot of times, and that looks like what they did here. But just another note on this, we are so close to the main, this would definitely be off the property, and the Metropolitan Sewer District would be responsible for this area. Usually a good somewhere between 10 and 20 feet from the main is what they'll cover. And since you're in a cul-de-sac with a very small front yard, they would cover a lot of this. So these are the areas that I was talking about. This silt, this could be basically silt buildup from years of debris getting in, and just, let's see, I'm going to try to kind of push it around and see if we can get some of this to flush down. Because if you actually look at it, see how that came out in a chunk? Could be grease. See how big that is? So what that could be is years of grease collecting in that area. And we'll see if we can push that bad boy all the way out. What happens is that grease builds up from the kitchen line. That looks like exactly what it is. It's just some grease buildup. And so it comes in and it like kind of congeals and creates these big bricks. And if you can sometimes you know, you can get it out by jet or whatever. I mean, the line looks like it's flowing well, but without doing like a jetting or something, those things can sit in there. It's probably mainly because there's like a flat spot or something in the line where the water doesn't go through very fast. And then anything at all that can kind of allow that to build up, which is what I'm trying to do, is kind of scrape it all up with my camera. Break it up so that we can actually, I'm going to flush the toilet and kind of wash it and see if that helps at all. So we'll wait and hold the camera in this area and wait for that big flush to make its way through here. Because that's the only thing, you just don't have, the water doesn't have enough pressure behind it to get, when this stuff congeals, doesn't have enough water to really pick it up. So toilet, you know, big flush of the toilet will take a lot of the other stuff out of there, but this isn't really a defect, it's just something that's happened over the years. So we'll give that a second to So as long as you're using toilet paper and stuff, I mean, normal things, it will not cause a problem, but if you are worried about it, you can very easily, you can have it flushed. You'd have to do a jetting, which is a little more expensive than regular cleaning, but it's basically from like 65 to about 75 feet. Let me try to make sure we get this camera cleaned off here. There we go. It's really not even that. You can see how I've turn the water brown just from me trying to clear all this stuff with the camera and get out of kind of scraping through it. So it kind of broke it up a little bit. You can just see the water just doesn't have enough pressure to flush it down. And so when you get some of this heavy debris, silt, sand, it kind of settles in the line there. Structurally, the line looks really good. And just look at this connection too, because making sure we don't have anything broken there. But again, that's kind of another good sample of what they would do is just kind of like turn one pipe end. They would turn the male end inside the female end to get turns instead of using fittings. So knock this out of the way here. It's got some toilet paper stuff right on the edge of some. I guess my camera's not going to hit it right. See, there's a connection right there above that. And so I think that's where a lot of that stuff's getting in, is the shingle grit coming off the roof because of and then the floor drains where the ground comes in. Shingle grit being a little like sandy stuff that coats your roof shingles. They come down, especially the newer the roof is, a lot of those come down pretty quickly. So there's that spot I was talking about. There is where the kitchen sink comes in. So we know that it's flowing freely. And then I am going to stop at this point, and I'm going to go try to find what this is. If this is the clay. This is the clean out, and just see if we can find where that is. But you do have two floor drains or area drains tied in, one inside the garage, one outside the garage. And so debris getting down into these, a lot of times there's a trap in them, and that'll catch a lot of the debris on the larger stuff. But you do have a lot of dirt. You want to keep it clear of leaves, stuff like that, to keep it from clogging. But that will carry a lot of dirt and stuff down in the line, and then any kind of flat spot like you saw. That area is just kind of an area of low turbulence, low flow, low pitch, whatever you want to call it. And so that's where that stuff is kind of built up. And then because of that, you saw what I pushed that chunk of grease. Basically an area of low pressure that the water is going through very slowly, and so things tend to accumulate in those areas. So you can get rid of them, you can jet the line, but right now it's not obstructing flow in any way. And so, as long as you're, like I mentioned earlier with the cast iron, as long as it's under normal use, it will not cause any issues. It's the toilet paper and stuff will make its way through. So again, I'm going to pause the video here and go locate where this is. Alright, so the line actually goes out right underneath the gas meter. Is in the front little closet in the front center of the basement, and that is where this clean out is. So there is no visible clean out. There's a little like knot in the concrete that shows it, but there's no real definitive like area. It's pretty common the way they used to do these. Instead of leaving it exposed, they would just concrete over them. Once they did the pressure test on the line, then they didn't really think you would need it again, and so they would just cover over it. And usually you hit it a few times with a hammer, and that concrete will break. And not that you'd want to do that for any reason, but just so you have the knowledge of where it is. It looks like a little, maybe the size of a quarter. There's a knot in a rough spot in the concrete, basically right underneath the gas meter in that front closet. So if you ever need access to it, that is where it is. But you can see the access right there. So this looks like this is where there's a little floor drain in there. Now it has a plastic cover on it, so they did leave it uncovered, and that's good. But the line looks really good. The only thing I saw at all was some debris from about 65 to 75 feet. Like I said before, I think that's pretty much all from the area drain getting in either through the downspouts and or the like area drain right outside the garage door. That would all be tied into this line. The age of the house and the area, this is what they call a combined system, where you have the sanitary sewer, which is your bathrooms, your kitchen, all the plumbing you use in your house. And it's also mixed with your storm. So your downspouts come down and go into it. Those drains come down and go into it. So when it rains, it all comes up. It all goes through that one line. So the biggest thing we find is, like you just saw there, sometimes you find some debris build up. in those little like low pressure areas of the pipe where it can't flush it out very well. And so there are, if it ever becomes an issue and if things are running slow, right now it's not obstructing flow at all. You could see that everything was flowing through fine, and as long as you're flushing things down the toilet that it's designed for, and not using things that weird objects or wet wipes like we mentioned, or feminine products, it shouldn't cause any issues at all. But again, going back to that area drain, you do want to make sure that you keep those clear, not just so the storm gets in and doesn't come into your garage, but also to just try to keep as much of that debris out of your sewer line as possible. Under heavy rains, it should help flush the line out a little bit, but you could always have it jetted if you were worried about that little area of dirt. But again, it's not obstructing flow at this time. So, but other than that, the line looked great structurally. It's open, holding shape great. The water's making it through. It's got pretty good pitch to it. Didn't see any root intrusion, and so all of that is very, very good news. So that'll end the inspection at 3435 Sherel Cir in Cincinnati, Ohio.